I said I have a date tonight. Your dinner will be in the warming drawer. Don't forget to eat.
The moment Kang Min-ho hears those 5 words fall from her lips, something cracks inside his chest. Something he didn't know existed until this woman with the warm brown skin and the curves that haunt his dreams started treating his penthouse like a way station instead of her home. And the jealousy that floods him is so violent, so possessive, so utterly irrational that it terrifies him. "What did you say?" His voice comes out quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes his board members sweat and his rivals reconsider their life choices. Isabella Kingsley doesn't even flinch. She just keeps moving through his kitchen. Her kitchen, really, because she's transformed it over the past 3 months into something that smells like home instead of sterile wealth. Tonight, she's making something simple for him before she leaves. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, rice that isn't from a package. I said I have a date tonight. She glances at him over her shoulder, and there's something in her dark eyes he can't read. Your dinner will be in the warming drawer. Don't forget to eat. Forget to eat. Like he's a child. Like she's not about to walk out of his penthouse wearing that dress, the burgundy one that clings to every curve he's memorized from a distance, to meet another man. Min-ho hasn't felt this out of control since his father died and left him a crumbling empire at 23. He rebuilt Kang Industries from the ashes. He became the youngest billionaire CEO in South Korean history. He's feared in boardrooms across 3 continents, and right now he cannot breathe. Cancel it. Isabella's hands still on the cutting board. Slowly, she turns to face him fully, and he watches something shift in her expression. Her chin lifts, her shoulders square. She's shorter than him by nearly a foot, soft where he's sharp, warm where he's cold. But in this moment, she looks at him like she could bring him to his knees. "Excuse me," I said, "cancel it." He pushes off the counter, moving toward her with the controlled grace that intimidates everyone except apparently her. "Whatever his name is, whoever he is, call him and tell him you're not coming." Why would I do that? Because the thought of another man seeing you in that dress makes me want to destroy something. Because I hired you as my personal chef 3 months ago, and somewhere between your jollof rice and your quiet laughter, I lost my mind. Because you live in my guest suite and eat breakfast across from me every morning, and you've ruined me for anyone else without even trying. He doesn't say any of that. He can't. Instead, he stops 3 feet from her, close enough to smell the vanilla and shea butter she uses on her skin, and says the only thing that won't expose him completely. "Because I need you here tonight." Isabella's eyebrow arches. "For what?" His mind races. "I'm having a business dinner. You didn't mention that this morning. It was last minute." "Then order in. You have the number for every high-end restaurant in Seoul. I want your cooking. Min-ho." The way she says his name, soft but firm, patient but unyielding, does something to him that no business rival has ever managed. She sees through him. She's always seen through him. "You have not once in 3 months asked me to cook for a business dinner at the penthouse. You take those meetings at restaurants. You've told me you don't like bringing work home." He has no response. She's right, and they both know it. Isabella sets down her knife and wipes her hands on a towel, her movements deliberate. When she looks at him again, there's something almost sad in her expression. "Worked for you for 3 months. I live in your guest suite. I cook your meals, I make sure your kitchen is stocked. I remember that you don't like cilantro and you'll only drink Ethiopian blend coffee." She takes a breath. "But I'm still your employee, and I have a life outside of this penthouse." Word employee hits him like a slap. Is that what he is to her? An employer, a job. He's Kang Min-ho. Women throw themselves at him constantly, beautifully, desperately. His PR team has a file of potential arranged marriage candidates that his mother sends quarterly. He could have anyone, but he doesn't want anyone. He wants the woman standing in his kitchen with flour on her apron and fire in her eyes, telling him she's going on a date with someone else. Who is he? The question escapes before he can stop it. That's not your business. He cuts himself off, jaw clenching. If he's what? If he's going to touch you. If he's going to make you laugh the way you sometimes laugh when you think I'm not listening. If he's going to look at you in that dress and see what I see, someone so beautiful it hurts to be in the same room with her. Nothing. He forces himself to step back, to rebuild the wall she keeps crumbling without effort. Enjoy your evening. He turns and walks toward his study, every step costing him something he can't name. Behind him, he hears Isabella let out a breath, frustration, relief, and resume cooking. 20 minutes later, she knocks on his study door. Your dinner's ready. He doesn't look up from his laptop. The numbers on the screen blur. Thank you, A pause, then, I left instructions for reheating in case it gets cold. Fine, another pause, longer this time. He can feel her hovering in the doorway, can feel her gaze on him, but he refuses to look up because if he does, he'll say something he can't take back. Min-ho, have a good night, Isabella. Silence that follows is heavy with everything neither of them is saying. Then he hears her heels clicking down the hallway, the soft rustle of her gathering her purse, the distant chime of the elevator, and then she's gone. Min-ho sits motionless for exactly 30 seconds. Then he picks up his phone and calls the one person he trusts with information he shouldn't have. Yi-won, I need you to find out everything about Isabella Kingsley's date tonight, where they're going, who he is, everything. His head of security doesn't question the request. He never does. Yes, sir. I'll have information within the hour. Min-ho ends the call and stares at his reflection in the darkened window. He barely recognizes the man looking back at him. Eyes too bright, jaw too tight, something wild and unfamiliar churning beneath his careful composure. He's never been jealous before. Not like this. Not in a way that makes him want to follow her, to interrupt her date, to drag her back here and make her understand that she's his in ways that have nothing to do with employment contracts. If this story has you hooked so far, hit that subscribe button and join our family, because the next twists will leave you speechless. The restaurant is nice. Really nice. White tablecloths, soft lighting, the kind of wine list that doesn't include prices because if you have to ask, you can't afford it. Isabella shouldn't be here. Not because she doesn't belong. She grew up with wealth, even if her family's fortune has complicated strings attached. But because she's sitting across from a perfectly lovely surgeon named David Park, and all she can think about is the look on Kang Min-ho's face when she told him she had a date. Cancel it. Who says that? Who looks at their personal chef with that much intensity over dinner plans and tells them to cancel their date like they have any right to, her employer? That's who. Her impossible, infuriating, devastatingly handsome employer who's been slowly driving her insane for 3 months with his morning coffee silences and his rare half-smiles, and the way he looks at her sometimes like she's a puzzle he's desperate to solve. Isabella, are you all right? She blinks, refocusing on David. He's handsome, objectively, undeniably handsome. Sharp cheekbones, kind eyes, the sort of gentle smile that probably puts his patients at ease before surgery. Her college friend Soo-yeon had set them up, insisting that Isabella needed to stop living like a nun in that billionaire's penthouse and start dating. Soo-yeon wasn't wrong. 3 months of proximity to Min-ho has done dangerous things to Isabella's sanity. I'm fine. She forces a smile. Sorry, long day. Can imagine, working for Kang Min-ho. David shakes his head with a low whistle. I've heard he's intense. Has his moments. The newspapers call him the Ice Emperor. Is it true he once fired an entire department for a single accounting error? Isabella thinks about the man who quietly leaves her favorite tea on the counter when she's had a long day. The man who learned she was allergic to shellfish and had his entire kitchen restocked within hours. The man who sits at the breakfast bar every morning, pretending to read his tablet while actually watching her cook. He's more complicated than the newspapers suggest. David leans forward with interest. Complicated how? But before Isabella can answer, her phone buzzes. She glances down automatically. Min-ho, where are you? Her heart stutters. She ignores the message. Sorry, just work. She silences her phone and sets it face down. Tell me more about your research. Cardiac surgery sounds fascinating. David launches into an explanation of some new minimally invasive procedure, and Isabella nods along, genuinely trying to pay attention. He's smart. He's successful. He's interested in her for reasons that have nothing to do with her cooking or the curves she's always been self-conscious about or the fact that she's American in a country where she sometimes still feels like an outsider. He's perfect on paper. And she feels absolutely nothing. Her phone buzzes again. And again. And again. Are you sure you don't need to get that? David asks, eyebrows raised. It's fine. But her hand is already reaching for the phone, some traitorous part of her desperate to see what Min-ho wants. Min-ho, I asked you a question. Min-ho, Isabella Min-ho. Answer me, then, a fourth message that makes her breath catch. Min-ho, please. In 3 months, she has never once heard Kang Min-ho say please. Not to his board members, not to his staff, not to anyone. The word looks almost foreign coming from him, even in text. I'm so sorry, she says, standing abruptly. I need to make a quick call. I'll be right back. David nods graciously, but there's a flicker of something in his eyes, disappointment, maybe, or the dawning realization that this date isn't going anywhere. Isabella weaves through the restaurant to the quiet hallway near the restrooms, her heels clicking against marble floors. She's already dialing before she consciously decides to. He picks up on the first ring. "Where are you?" His voice is low, rough, nothing like his usual controlled baritone. "That's none of your business." "Me anyway." "Min-ho, I need to know you're safe." The words hit her like a wave. She leans against the wall, pressing her free hand to her stomach where something warm and terrifying is unfurling. "Why wouldn't I be safe?" A long pause. She can hear him breathing, can picture him packing his study the way he does when he's agitated, all coiled energy and barely contained intensity. "Because I don't know this man. I don't know where he's taken you. I don't know." He cuts himself off with a harsh exhale. "I don't know anything, and it's driving me insane." Isabella closes her eyes. "That's not a normal thing to say to your employee." "I'm aware." "Then why are you saying it?" Silence stretches between them, thick and charged. She can hear her own heartbeat in her ears, can feel the weight of everything unspoken pressing against her chest. "Come home." His voice drops to something almost vulnerable. "Isabella, come home." Home, not the penthouse, not your room. Home, she should hang up. She should go back to her date with the nice surgeon who doesn't make her feel like she's standing on the edge of a cliff. She should protect herself from whatever this is because she knows that falling for Kang Min-ho would be the most dangerous thing she's ever done. But instead, she hears herself whisper, "I'll be back by 11." And then she hangs up before he can respond. When she returns to the table, David is studying the wine list with the air of a man who already knows how this evening will end. She sits down and he looks up with a rueful smile. "Let me guess, you have to go." She hesitates. "I'm sorry." "You've been wonderful, really. This isn't about you. It's about him, isn't it, your boss?" Isabella's silence is answer enough. David signals for the check with the graciousness of someone who's been let down gently before. "For what it's worth, whatever's happening between you two, it's written all over your face when you talk about him, even when you're trying to hide it. There's nothing happening between us. Not yet." He signs the check and stands, offering her his hand. "But there will be. And when it does, I hope he deserves you." Isabella takes his hand, guilt and gratitude warring in her chest. "Thank you for understanding. Thank you for the most interesting first date I've had in years." His smile is genuine, if a little sad. "Take care of yourself, Isabella." She watches him leave, then sits alone at the table for a long moment, staring at her phone. 11:00 p.m. That's what she promised. It's barely 8:30. She could stay. Could order dessert, take her time, make him wait like he deserves for being so presumptuous, so possessive, so utterly inappropriate. But her feet are already carrying her toward the exit, and her heart is already racing with anticipation she refuses to name. The ride back to the penthouse takes 23 minutes. Isabella spends every single one of them trying to convince herself that this means nothing, that she's just going back because her date ended early. That Min-ho's behavior is concerning, not attractive. That she's not breathless with something that feels dangerously like hope. She fails on all counts. When the elevator opens onto the penthouse floor, she finds him waiting. He's shed his suit jacket. His tie is loosened, top button undone, sleeves rolled up over forearms that shouldn't be distracting but absolutely are. His hair is disheveled like he's been running his hands through it, and his eyes are wild, hungry. Relieved in a way that makes her want to cry. Early. His voice is hoarse. "My date ended." "He touch you?" The question is quiet, dangerous, loaded with something that makes her skin prickle with heat. "That's not..." "Did he touch you?" Isabella's chin lifts. She should be angry. She should be furious at his audacity, his possessiveness, his complete disregard for professional boundaries. Instead, she takes a step closer. No, Min-ho's entire body seems to shudder with relief. He closes the distance between them in 2 strides, stopping just short of touching her, his hands clenched at his sides like he's physically restraining himself. Good. The word is barely a breath. Because if he had, I would have ruined him, his career, his reputation, everything. That's insane. "I know. You can't." Isabella's voice catches. "You can't say things like that to me. I work for you." "Don't care. You should." "Can't." He reaches up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucks a stray lock behind her ear. His fingers tremble against her skin. "I've tried. For 3 months, I've tried to be professional, to keep my distance, to remember that you're my employee and I have no right to feel this way. But tonight," his jaw clenches. Tonight I watched you walk out of here to meet another man, and I realized I would rather burn my entire empire to the ground than let anyone else have you. Isabella's breath leaves her in a rush. Her heart is pounding so hard she's certain he can hear it. This is crazy. Barely know each other. I know that you hum old Motown songs when you cook. I know that you video call your grandmother in Atlanta every Sunday morning. I know that you came to Seoul to escape something you won't talk about, and some nights I hear you crying in your room and it takes everything in me not to break down your door. His voice cracks. I know that you're the first person who's ever made me feel like I might be more than what my empire requires me to be. She's trembling. She can't stop trembling. Min-ho, you don't have to say anything. He steps back, and the loss of his proximity feels like a physical wound. I know I've overstepped. I know this is inappropriate. If you want to leave to find another position somewhere else, I'll give you the best recommendation anyone has ever received. I'll make sure you never have to worry about money again. If I don't want to leave, the question hangs between them, electric and terrifying. Min-ho's eyes search hers. Then I need you to understand something. I'm not a good man, Isabella. I've done things to build this empire that would horrify you. I've crushed rivals, destroyed careers, made decisions that keep me awake at night. And if you stay, if you let me have you, I will be possessive and jealous and completely, utterly obsessed with you in ways that might scare you. You don't scare me. Should. You don't. She moves toward him, closing the distance he created until they're standing close enough that she can feel the heat radiating from his body. What scares me is how much I want to stay. His breath catches. Isabella, I'm not saying yes to anything tonight. Her voice is steadier than she feels. You're right, this is crazy. You're my boss. I live in your home. There are 1,000 reasons why this is a terrible idea. But she reaches up and presses her palm to his chest, feeling his heart hammer against her hand. He shudders at the contact. His eyes falling closed like her touch is the most exquisite torture. But I didn't feel anything tonight. Not with David, not with anyone else since I moved here. The only person who makes me feel anything is you, and it terrifies me more than you could possibly understand. Min-ho's hand comes up to cover hers, pressing it harder against his chest like he needs to make sure she's real. His heartbeat thunders against her palm, wild and unsteady, nothing like the controlled man the world sees. Stay, he whispers. Not forever, not yet, just stay and let me prove that this isn't madness. Isabella should say no. Every rational part of her brain screams that this is a disaster waiting to happen, that she came to Seoul to escape one complicated entanglement and walking into another would be the height of stupidity. But rationality has never made her feel like this, like she's standing on the edge of something vast and terrifying and beautiful. Okay, she breathes. I'll stay. Sound Min-ho makes is somewhere between relief and desperation. He pulls her closer, wrapping his arms around her like she might disappear if he doesn't hold on tight enough. His face buries in her hair, and she feels him inhale deeply, breathing her in. Thank you, he murmurs against her temple. Thank you. They stand like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other, the penthouse silent around them except for the soft sound of their breathing. Isabella feels something shift inside her, some wall she'd built to protect herself crumbling brick by brick. It's terrifying, it's wonderful. Eventually, Min-ho pulls back just enough to look at her face. His thumb traces along her jawline with a tenderness that makes her chest ache. You should sleep, it's late. What about you? I have some work to finish. But he makes no move to release her, his eyes roaming her face like he's memorizing every detail. Will you have breakfast with me tomorrow? Not as my employee, just as you. Isabella smiles despite herself. I have breakfast with you every morning. This will be different. His voice drops lower. Everything will be different now. She believes him. That night, Isabella lies in her guest's sweet bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word he said. She should be afraid. Kang Min-ho is powerful, intense, possessive in ways that should send her running. The newspapers call him ruthless. His business rivals call him terrifying. His own board members speak about him in hushed, reverent tones. But when he looks at her, none of that matters. When he looks at her, she sees the lonely man behind the empire, the one who eats breakfast alone, who works until midnight because going to bed means facing the silence, who learned her coffee order on her first day and has never forgotten it. She sees someone who might understand her in ways no one else ever has. Sleep comes slowly, but when it does, she dreams of his hands in her hair and his voice whispering her name. The next morning, everything is different. Min-ho is already in the kitchen when she emerges, which never happens. Usually he waits at the breakfast bar while she cooks, pretending to read his tablet. Today, he's standing at the stove, frowning at a pan like it's personally offended him. "What are you doing?" Isabella asks, stopping short in the doorway. He glances up and the smile that crosses his face, shy, almost boyish, makes her stomach flip. "I'm making you breakfast. You can't cook, Maware." He gestures helplessly at the pan, where something that might have once been eggs is rapidly turning into charcoal. "I wanted to try." Isabella crosses the kitchen and gently hip-checks him aside, rescuing the pan before he can do more damage. The thought is sweet. The execution is a health hazard. "Learn." He says it like a vow, watching her scrape out the ruined eggs and start fresh. "Whatever it takes to deserve you, I'll learn." "Oh, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to." He moves behind her, not quite touching, but close enough that she can feel his warmth along her back. "I want to. I've spent my entire life taking. From competitors, from employees, from everyone around me. With you, I want to give." Isabella's hands still on the spatula. Nobody has ever said anything like that to her before. Not her ex-fiancé in Atlanta who'd wanted her family connections more than he wanted her. Not the men before him who'd seen her curves as conquest rather than beauty. Not anyone. "Going to make me burn breakfast," she manages, her voice thick. "Then burn it. I don't care about breakfast." His lips brush her ear, feather-light. "I only care about you." They eat together on the balcony, the Seoul's skyline glittering beneath them. The eggs are slightly overdone. Isabella had been too distracted to focus properly, but neither of them seems to notice. They talk about everything and nothing. Her grandmother in Atlanta. His mother who calls every Sunday to remind him he's not getting younger. The pressure of expectations that have shaped both their lives. For the first time, Isabella feels like she's seeing the real Kang Min-ho. Not the CEO, not the Ice Emperor. Just a man who spent so long building walls that he's forgotten what it feels like to let someone in. "Why me?" she asks quietly as they linger over coffee. "You could have anyone, models, actresses, heiresses. Why the American cook living in your guest room?" Min-ho sets down his cup and reaches across the table to take her hand. His thumb traces slow circles on her wrist, right over her pulse point. "Because you don't want anything from me." His voice is raw with honesty. "Everyone wants something, my money, my connections, my power. But you just wanted to cook. You treated me like a person instead of a prize. Do you know how rare that is?" "I did yell at you once for putting dishes in the sink wrong." He laughs, actually laughs, bright and unexpected, and Isabella's heart clenches at the sound. "You did. You also told me my taste in coffee was pretentious." "It is pretentious." Ethiopian single origin at exactly 200 degrees. It's the optimal temperature for pretentious. But she's smiling, and so is he, and the morning sunlight catches the gold flecks in his dark eyes, and Isabella thinks she might be falling in love with this impossible man. The thought should scare her. Instead, it feels like coming home. Days turn into weeks. Weeks where Min-ho finds excuses to be home early. Weeks where Isabella lingers over dinner instead of retreating to her room. Weeks where the line between employer and employee blurs into something neither of them quite names. He brings her flowers one Tuesday, peonies, her favorite, though she never told him. He must have asked her grandmother during one of their Sunday calls that he's somehow started joining. She teaches him to make jollof rice, standing behind him with her arms wrapped around his waist, guiding his hands on the wooden spoon. He burns it twice before getting it right, and when he finally produces something edible, he looks at her with such pride that she kisses him without thinking, their first kiss. It's soft, startled over almost before it begins. She pulls back with wide eyes, apology already forming on her lips, but Min-ho chases her mouth and kisses her properly, deep and desperate and consuming in a way that makes her knees buckle. Finally, he breathes against her lips. "I've wanted to do that since the day you walked into my penthouse and told me my kitchen was organized wrong." "It was organized wrong." "I know. I kept it that way hoping you'd stay long enough to fix it." Isabella laughs, and he swallows the sound with another kiss, his hands framing her face like she's something precious. They kiss until they're both breathless, until the jollof rice is forgotten, and the kitchen is filled with nothing but the sound of their mingled breathing. It's perfect. And then his phone rings. Min-ho ignores it. It rings again and again. "You should get that," Isabella murmurs against his jaw. "They can wait. Might be important." He groans but pulls away, checking the screen. His expression shifts, softening into something complicated. "It's my mother." Isabella steps back, giving him space. "Take it, I'll clean up." She listens to his half of the conversation while scrubbing the burned pan. His Korean is too fast for her to follow completely, but she catches enough. Words like meeting and arrangement and suitable. When he hangs up, his jaw is tight. What's wrong? Nothing. But he won't meet her eyes. Just family obligations. Min-ho, he sighs, running a hand through his hair. My mother has arranged a dinner tomorrow night with the daughter of a family friend. Words land like stones in Isabella's stomach. A dinner. Matchmaking dinner. He finally looks at her, and she sees the conflict warring in his expression. I've been declining them for years, but she's insistent. She says I'm not getting younger. That the company needs stability, that if this story has you hooked so far, hit that subscribe button and join our family, because the next twists will leave you speechless. You should go, he blinks. What? You should go. Isabella forces her voice to stay steady even as something cracks inside her chest. We've been, whatever this is, for a few weeks. Your mother has been planning your future for your entire life. I'm not going to ask you to choose. Isabella, I'm serious. She sets down the pan and faces him fully. I knew what I was getting into. You're Kang Min-ho. There are expectations, obligations. I'm an American cook with a complicated past and no social standing in your world. If you need to explore your options, stop. He crosses the kitchen in 2 strides and grabs her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. Stop talking like you're disposable. Stop acting like you're not the only option I want. Then why do you look so torn? Because I'm terrified. The admission seems to cost him. Because my mother's approval has always mattered to me, even when I pretended it didn't. Because bringing you into my world means exposing you to scrutiny and judgment and people who will try to tear you down, and I don't know if I can protect you from all of it. Don't need you to protect me. I know you don't. That's what terrifies me most. He cups her face in his hands. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met. You walked away from your old life and built something new in a country where you barely spoke the language. You don't need me for anything. Which means if you stay, it's only because you want to, and that kind of wanting, I don't know what to do with it. Isabella's eyes burn. I do want to stay. Then let me handle my mother. His forehead drops to hers. Let me figure out how to make this work. I'm not going to that dinner tomorrow, and I'm not going to any dinner where you're not beside me. She'll hate me. She'll learn to love you, and if she doesn't, his jaw sets with familiar determination. Then she'll learn to accept you, because I'm not giving you up, not for her. Not for anyone. Isabella wants to believe him. She wants to trust that his conviction is enough to overcome the mountains standing between them, his family, his world, her own tangled past that she still hasn't told him about. But for now, in this kitchen that smells like burned rice and new beginnings, she lets herself hope. Okay, she whispers. Okay. He kisses her again, softer this time, like a promise. Neither of them notices the notification that lights up his phone on the counter. A message from his head of security, Yi-won. Background check on Isabella Kingsley complete. Sir, you need to see this. The file lands on Min-ho's desk at 7 a.m. the next morning. He doesn't want to open it. Every instinct screams to throw it away, to trust the woman who's slowly becoming his entire world. But Yi-won's expression is grim, and the security chief has never steered him wrong in 15 years. You need to see this, sir. Min-ho opens the file. 20 minutes later, he's still staring at the same page, his coffee growing cold, his heart turning to ice in his chest. Isabella Kingsley. Born in Atlanta, Georgia. Educated at the Culinary Institute of America. Former personal chef to Marcus Webb, real estate mogul. Former fiancé of Marcus Webb. The engagement ended 8 months ago. 3 weeks later, Marcus Webb filed a lawsuit against her for theft of proprietary business information. The case was dismissed for lack of evidence, but the damage was done. Her reputation in Atlanta's culinary circles was destroyed. She fled to Seoul with nothing but her skills and her grandmother's recipes. And Marcus Webb is currently in negotiations with Kang Industries for a joint development project worth $3 billion. Min-ho reads the file twice more, looking for something that will make this make sense. Isabella, a thief. Isabella, who returns extra change to cashiers and once spent an hour helping a lost tourist find their hotel. The woman who cried during a commercial about rescue dogs. It doesn't fit. None of it fits, but the timing does. She arrived at his penthouse 3 months ago, just as the Webb negotiations began heating up. She's had access to his home office, his schedule, his private life. If she wanted to gather information for her ex-fiancé, no, he refuses to believe it. Yi-won's voice cuts through his spiraling thoughts. What would you like me to do? Nothing. Min-ho closes the file. I'll handle this myself. He finds her in the kitchen, humming an Aretha Franklin song while preparing his breakfast. She's wearing one of his shirts. When did that start? And her locks are piled on top of her head in a messy bun. She looks soft and warm and perfect, and the sight of her makes his chest ache with something that feels dangerously like love. Morning. She smiles over her shoulder. I'm making your favorite. The eggs are almost. She stops when she sees his expression. What's wrong? He sets the file on the counter between them. Isabella's smile fades as she recognizes what it is. She doesn't open it. She doesn't need to. Her face tells him everything, the flash of pain, the resignation, the quiet devastation of someone whose past has finally caught up with her. You ran a background check on me. After your date, I wanted to know who you were spending time with. The excuse sounds hollow even to his own ears. Yi-won does this for everyone who enters my life. Everyone. Her voice is carefully flat. Or just the ones you don't trust. Isabella. I didn't steal anything from Marcus. She cuts him off, her hands clenched at her sides. I worked for him for 2 years. I was engaged to him for 6 months. And when I found out he was laundering money through his real estate deals, I told him I couldn't stay silent. Min-ho's breath catches. What? He was dirty, Min-ho. The charity galas, the community development projects, all of it was a front. When I threatened to go to the authorities, he threatened me right back. Said he'd destroy my career, make sure no one in the industry would ever hire me again. Her voice shakes, but she holds his gaze. The theft accusation was retaliation. He couldn't prove anything because there was nothing to prove, but it didn't matter. The rumor was enough. Didn't you tell me? When? During my job interview? Over breakfast on my first week? A bitter laugh escapes her. Hi, I'm Isabella. I'm running from a vindictive ex who happens to be negotiating a multi-billion-dollar deal with your company. Please hire me anyway. Pieces click into place. Her reluctance to talk about Atlanta. The way she flinches when anyone mentions real estate development. The phone calls she takes in her room with the door locked, her voice too low to hear. You knew about the web deal. I found out 3 weeks ago. Saw his name in your calendar. She wraps her arms around herself. I was going to tell you, I didn't know how. And then we started whatever this is, and I was scared that if I told you, you'd think that you were using me. Tears spill down her cheeks. I would never, Min-ho, I would never. I know. He crosses the kitchen and pulls her into his arms, crushing her against his chest. I know you wouldn't, I'm sorry. I should have asked you instead of reading a file like some kind of cold, calculating billionaire CEO. Despite everything, he laughs. Yes. That, she clings to him, her face buried in his shirt, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. He holds her tighter, pressing kisses to her hair, murmuring apologies in Korean and English until her breathing steadies. Deal with Marcus, she finally says, pulling back to look at him. You should walk away from it. I already plan to. Oh, it's $3 billion. I don't care. He cups her face, wiping her tears with his thumbs. I don't care if it's 30 billion. I'm not doing business with someone who hurt you. That's not negotiable. Your board will fight you. Them try. Your mother will think I'm manipulating you. My mother can think whatever she wants. He tilts her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. Isabella, listen to me. I have spent my entire adult life building an empire because I thought that was what would make me happy. Power, wealth, control. And then you walked into my kitchen and told me my eggs were overcooked, and suddenly none of it mattered anymore. A watery laugh escapes her. They were overcooked. They were perfect because you made them. He kisses her forehead, her cheeks, the corner of her mouth. You're not a liability. You're not a complication. You're the only thing in my life that has ever felt real. And if Marcus Webb thinks he can use our deal to hurt you, he's about to discover exactly how dangerous I can be when someone threatens what's mine. The next 3 weeks are chaos. Min-ho withdraws from the web negotiations publicly and spectacularly, citing irreconcilable differences in business ethics. The business press goes wild with speculation. His board demands explanations he refuses to give. His mother calls 17 times in a single day, and Marcus Webb makes his move. The article drops on a Tuesday morning. A business tabloid with just enough credibility to be damaging. The headline screams, Kangindusdras CEO compromised by former WBB employee. There are photos of Isabella entering his penthouse, speculation about her motives, anonymous sources suggesting she seduced her way into his life for revenge against her former employer. Isabella sees it before he does. He finds her in the kitchen, phone in hand, face ashen. I should go. Her voice is hollow. Before this gets worse, before I destroy everything you've built. No. Min-ho, please. I said no. He takes the phone from her trembling hands and sets it aside. You're not running, not from him, not from this. You can't fight a scandal like this. The shareholders will get in line or find themselves replaced. He pulls her close. Isabella, I told you what I am. I told you I've done things that would horrify you. Did you think I was exaggerating? She looks up at him, confusion mixing with her fear. What do you mean? I mean, Marcus Webb isn't the only one who knows how to destroy a reputation. His voice drops to something cold and deadly. I've spent 15 years building connections in every industry that matters. Politicians who owe me favors, journalists who owe me their careers, investigators who know where every skeleton in this country is buried. He tilts her chin up. Did Webb really think he could come after you without consequences? What are you going to do? What I should have done the moment I read that file. He kisses her, hard and possessive. I'm going to end him. It takes 72 hours. On day 1, anonymous sources begin feeding journalists information about Marcus Webb's money laundering operations. Documentation that Isabella had never accessed but that Yiwon's team had no trouble finding. On day 2, 3 of Webb's biggest investors announced they're pulling out, citing newly discovered concerns about fiscal accountability. On day 3, federal investigators announced they're opening an inquiry into Webb real estate. By sunset, Marcus Webb is fleeing to a country with no extradition treaty, his empire in flames, his reputation ashes. The scandal about Isabella evaporates. No one cares about the American cook anymore, not when there's a much juicier story about a corrupt mogul's downfall. Min-ho finds her on the balcony that night, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the city lights. He comes up behind her and wraps his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. It's over, he murmurs against her hair. He can't hurt you anymore. You destroyed him. For me, for us. He turns her to face him. I told you I wasn't a good man, Isabella. I told you I was possessive and jealous and capable of terrible things. Did you think I was joking? She studies his face for a long moment. He waits for the fear, the disgust, the realization that she's bound herself to a monster. Instead, she rises on her toes and kisses him. I think, she whispers against his lips, that you're exactly the man I need. Relief that floods through him is staggering. He lifts her into his arms, carrying her toward the bedroom, toward everything they've been building toward since the night she came home early from a date that never mattered. Love you, he confesses against her throat, the words pouring out of him like water from a broken dam. I love you, Isabella. I love you so much it terrifies me. I love you too. She pulls his face up to meet her eyes. Even the terrifying parts. He lays her down on sheets that cost more than most people's salaries, but all he sees is her. Her beautiful dark skin against white silk, her locks spreading across his pillow like a crown, her curves that have haunted his dreams since the day she arrived. Mine, he breathes, kissing down her neck, her collarbone, the soft swell of her breasts above her shirt. Tell me you're mine. Yours, she gasps, arching into his touch. Only yours. What follows is tender and fierce and overwhelming, a claiming and a surrender all at once. They move together like they were made for this, like every moment of tension and longing and denial was leading them here. And when they finally break apart, breathless and trembling and changed, Min-ho pulls her against his chest and knows he'll never let her go. 3 months later, his mother finally stops calling. Not because she's given up, because she's given in. Isabella had shown up at Sunday family dinner with her homemade jollof rice and her warm smile and her absolute refusal to be intimidated. By the end of the night, Min-ho's mother was requesting recipes and asking when she could expect grandchildren. Bewitched my entire family, Min-ho complains, watching Isabella charm his younger sister in rapid-fire Korean that she's been studying for months. Just that good. He pulls her aside, into the quiet of his childhood home's garden. You are. She opens her mouth to respond, but the words die when he sinks to one knee. The ring is simple by his standards, a princess-cut diamond surrounded by smaller stones, elegant but not ostentatious. He'd had it designed weeks ago, carrying it everywhere, waiting for the perfect moment. Kingsley. His voice shakes for the first time in his life. You walked into my penthouse and told me my kitchen was wrong. Then you told me my coffee was pretentious and my eggs were overcooked and my entire life was missing something I didn't know I needed. Me finish. He takes her hand. I was the Ice Emperor. I was feared and respected and completely alone. And then you thawed me. You made me laugh. You made me jealous enough to threaten to destroy a man for taking you to dinner. She laughs through tears. You did destroy a man. Different man, for different reasons. He grins up at her. The point is, you've ruined me. Completely. Utterly. I can't imagine a life without you in my kitchen, in my bed, in every part of my world that matters. You asking me something, or just listing my accomplishments. Asking you to marry me. He slides the ring onto her finger before she can answer. I'm asking you to be mine forever. I'm asking you to let me spend the rest of my life proving that jealous, possessive billionaire CEOs can learn to cook terrible eggs and love beyond reason. Isabella stares at the ring, then at him, then back at the ring. Yes, she whispers. Yes. Yes, you impossible man. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll teach you to make eggs that aren't terrible. Yes. He's on his feet and kissing her before she can finish, lifting her off the ground and spinning her while his family cheers from the windows they've been definitely not watching from. 1 year later, they welcome their first child, a daughter with her father's intense eyes and her mother's warm brown skin. They name her Yoonji, meaning kindness and wisdom. Min-ho holds her like she's made of glass, tears streaming down his face while Isabella laughs at the Ice Emperor undone by a 7-pound baby. Have everything, he whispers that night, his wife asleep against his shoulder, his daughter cradled in his arms. Everything I never knew I wanted. The penthouse windows, Seoul glitters like a promise kept. And in the kitchen that started everything, a recipe for jollof rice hangs on the refrigerator, written in Isabella's handwriting, annotated with Min-ho's clumsy attempts to learn. If you enjoyed this story, please make sure to subscribe for more videos like this, and let us know in the comment section how we can make this more interesting to you. See you in another story.